This is the Razer Deathadder V3 Pro, which might be Razer's best mouse yet. Does it mean it's for everyone? Well, of course not, but we'll discuss that and more later on in the review. Right now, let's check out what's in the box and what are the specs of the mouse. The Deathadder V3 Pro, as the Pro in the name suggests, is equipped with Razer's best technology in terms of wireless connectivity, switches and sensor. In the box, if you buy the basic version, you will find a wireless receiver which works with 1000 Hz polling rate, USB-C cable that you can either charge the mouse or connect the extender, and a set of rubberized grips in case you find the naked version too slippery. I mentioned the 1000 Hz polling rate not without a reason, because you might be already aware that there is a 4000 Hz polling rate adapter available, which will increase the responsiveness and reduce the delay between the clicks and what is happening on the screen even further. When you combine it with the optical switches, which have been present in Razer's top line of device for some time now and offer the fastest response time, the advantage can become noticeable, especially if you're highly skilled in online FPS. It does come at a price though, as the 4000 Hz polling rate will drain your battery much faster than the standard 1000 Hz. It's up to you to decide whether you want the best performance out of this mouse or if you'd rather have a good performance and excellent battery time. While we read it, the rated battery time for the Deathadder V3 Pro is around 90 hours, which is an excellent result, and Razer was able to achieve that by completely getting rid of any RGB on this mouse. There is no RGB accents. The only thing you have in terms of any type of RGB is the diode here at the front of the mouse, which displays whether the mouse is connected, whether it's trying to find the adapter. But also, if you want to switch between different DPI settings, it will display different colors for your predefined settings. So for example, you can have yellow for 400, red for 800 and blue for 1600 DPI, which makes this mouse really comfortable to use, and also you can take it wherever you want with you and have the settings saved, because there is a memory on board which helps you store the settings you define in Razer Synapse. When it comes to switches, the V3 Pro uses third generation of optical switches, which I think are the best so far from Razer. They feel really snappy, very sharp, and are very close in terms of user experience to classic mechanical switches. The one thing that lags behind, in my opinion, is the sound of the clicks, so let's do a quick sound test. So this is completely subjective, but I still think that the mechanical classical switches that come in with a lot of the mice nowadays are still better when it comes to sound and when it comes to the feel. I feel like the optical switches here are kind of hollow sounding and they're quite loud. I don't know if you can hear it on the microphone, but even when I'm speaking and I'm pressing the mouse, they are quite loud. I feel like the switches on the Jeeper Superlight are just slightly quieter, and they also have a different sound profile, which is just, in my opinion, much more pleasant to hear. On that note, I am impressed on the improvements Razer made when compared to the previous generation of optical switches, and finally we have almost no pre and post travel when clicking, which is great, and since it's an optical switch, you don't need to worry about any double clicking issue. You also don't need to worry about the lifespan of the switches, as the Gen 3 is rated at an impressive 90 million clicks. You're more likely to replace your mouse because you get bored of it than because of the buttons failing. Finally, we have the improved Focus Plus sensor with 30,000 max DPI and what Razer claims to be an industry-leading 99.8% resolution accuracy. And at this point, I just want to mention that the industry standards are at 99.4%, so probably you won't be able to notice the difference, but it's nice to see that the sensor is really accurate. The new sensor has better support for different surfaces and can track on glass, providing it's at least 4 mm thick. And thanks to better power efficiency, it helps the mouse reach the already mentioned 90 hours of battery time. Now let's move to arguably the most important factor when deciding whether you buy this mouse, and it's the shape. The Deathadder family of mice has been around for what seems like ages, as the first edition was released in 2006 an impressive 16 years of gaming mice dominance, as it probably still is one of the best selling mice out there. For most part of the time, Razer kept the shape of the mouse and the overall design aesthetic the same, tuning it with the latest tech advancements like better sensor or wireless connectivity. But the new Deathadder, the V3 Pro version, breaks away from that scheme and offers a more evolved and fine-tuned ergo shape. First of all, the flare of the main buttons is lower, the finger grooves are much more delicate, and the mouse feels much less bulky than the previous version. Another thing that has changed are the main buttons. They are no longer a part of the case, and I've heard that the overall experience is much better when compared to the previous design. I think that the new Deathadder is much closer in design and in the shape to the Viper than it is to the previous Deathadder. As you can see, when you're looking at it from the side or from the front and you don't see the ergo shape, it looks really quite familiar, and it looks almost exactly as the Deathadder. And some people have been calling it the Ergo Deathadder. And I think the changes that have been made by Razer in terms of shape, at least for me, again, this is very personal opinion, so I suggest you just try the mouse yourself and build your own opinion. But in my opinion, the new shape is much more neutral, and I think it will fit, and more people will like the new shape than the previous one. The previous version was quite bulky. It felt really big in your hands. This one snugs really nicely inside of your hand. It doesn't feel as large and doesn't feel as heavy as well. It's partially due to the weight reduction, which was reduced quite significantly, and but also the shape plays a big role here in making the mouse feel much more lightweight, but also much faster in terms of usage. That said, I don't think the mouse will fit everyone's playstyle and grip style, as it's still quite big. I think it's mostly targeted at people with medium and large hands who use palm or claw grip. You could technically use it with a fingertip grip if you have bigger hands, but for fingertip I think the ambidextrous mice like the Viper, for example, will be better suited. One more thing to note is that you're used to ambidextrous shape and absolutely love it and don't feel fatigued after longer gaming sessions or productivity sessions, then I don't think the ergo shape will win you over. It boils down to anyone's personal preference, so I think it's a good idea to test the mouse before pulling the trigger. Fortunately, Razer offers a 30-day trial for the new Deathadder, so if you don't like the mouse, you can just return it, no questions asked. The one thing I also really like about this design is the shape, size, and the placement of the side buttons. They're placed really nicely, they don't get in the way, they provide good space for support of your thumb. And also they are quite snappy, they're quite fast, there's almost no pre-travel and very little post-travel. So yeah, Razer did a really good job on the side buttons, and I think they're one of the best, if not the best, that I've ever used. Like I already mentioned, the LED on top of the mouse near the scroll wheel helps you indicate when the mouse is trying to find the receiver, but also helps you navigate through the built-in DPI settings. By default, you get 400, 800, 1600, 2400 and 3200. When you download the software, you can upload your own settings and take them wherever you go. You can also adjust the lift-off and landing distance, really tuning the mouse to your preferred playstyle. Now let's move on to things that I'm not really a fan of, and the first thing are the gliders. They seem really thin, they just like barely protrude from the case. It's like a half a millimeter of distance between the edge of the case and the edge of the gliders, which makes me think that they will wear out rather soon, and sooner or later you will need to get them replaced with the aftermarket gliders. Second thing is the scroll wheel. It's not totally bad. I mean, it's very light and I'm not a fan of that. I prefer the slightly more pronounced steps on the super light. Here it's very easy to move it, and also the difference between different steps is really small, so you don't really feel whether you move the mouse a whole step or half a step. It's a minor issue and you probably can get used to it really fast, and it doesn't take away from the overall great design of this mouse. So my overall opinion of the Deathadder V3 Pro is very positive. I'm pleasantly surprised with the ergo shape and with the shape of this specific model, the V3 Pro. And so far I have great fun using it, and I seem to be performing much better on average in the games I played, Apex, Modern Warfare 2 and so on. And like I said, I don't think it's for everyone, but I think it might be one of the best, if not the best, lightweight ergo gaming mouse out there, and probably one of the best mice Razer ever made. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, consider subscribing to the channel for more similar content like this. I'm Lazerk, and I'll see you soon.